Welcome to this explainer. Let's dive right in and explore how the meticulous process of unearthing physical evidence completely rewrites our understanding of human history. You know, for centuries, our past was basically just a collection of myths, legends, and scattered texts. But when we actually start digging, the dirt tells a profoundly different and much more concrete story.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the mystery beneath our feet.
So I want you to think about this for a second. What if the absolute greatest stories in human history are still buried right beneath us? Every single time an archaeologist's brush clears away a little bit of dust, a new piece of the human puzzle emerges. We are literally standing on an incredible vault of human existence, and uncovering it separates what we think we know from what the dirt actually proves.
Moving right along to Section 2, snapshots frozen in time. Let's look at Pompeii. This perfectly illustrates how physical evidence can capture a single, uninterrupted moment from thousands of years ago, giving us this incredibly rare glimpse into ancient daily life as it actually happened. When Mount Vesuvius erupted, it didn't just destroy Pompeii, right? It literally froze a remarkably detailed moment in time. We're not just relying on texts written by the elite anymore. We can actually read the ancient graffiti on the walls. We can see actual loaves of bread left in the ovens. It's an absolutely incredible, perfectly preserved snapshot of ordinary Roman life. Now, deep inside the dark passages of the Valley of the Kings, the sealed doorway to King Tutankhamun's burial chamber didn't just hide a mummy. I mean, it held a staggering volume of perfectly preserved history. We're talking golden funerary objects, ancient jewelry, intact chariots, the whole shebang. It profoundly illuminated exactly how New Kingdom royal ceremonies were actually conducted. Over in ancient China, a faint beam of light in a colossal underground chamber revealed the Terracotta Army. We are looking at hundreds of life-sized clay warriors, infantry, and chariots. And honestly, the most staggering detail here, out of thousands of figures, no two faces are exactly alike. No way, right? It's a massive physical testament to the immense scale of Qin Dynasty military organization. But hey, history isn't just about emperors and giant armies. Meet Ötzi the Iceman, who was discovered completely frozen in the Alps. Because he was preserved in ice for thousands of years, he gives us this incredibly intimate window into prehistoric survival. He was carrying a copper axe, flint tools, and even what basically amounts to a prehistoric first aid kit. It shows us exactly how our ancestors adapted to some seriously harsh extremes.
All right, Section 3, Decoding Ancient Languages. This brings us to the ultimate linguistic key, the Rosetta Stone. By placing different writing systems side by side on a single stone slab, ancient people unknowingly left us a translation manual. Scholars were able to use the languages they already knew to finally unlock the meaning of Egyptian hieroglyphs. It literally turned mysterious symbols into readable history. A real game changer.
Similarly, we have the incredibly fragile Dead Sea Scroll fragments, discovered stored inside pottery vessels near the Dead Sea. Now, it's super important that we distinguish between the physical parchment and the cultural interpretation here. The actual archaeological reality of these scrolls gives us concrete, totally unedited insight into scribal practices and religious traditions during the Second Temple period.
Which brings us to Section 4, Challenging What We Know.
Okay, this is where it gets incredibly fascinating, because these next discoveries completely shatter older historical assumptions. At Göbekli Tepe in Anatolia, archaeologists uncovered these absolutely enormous T-shaped stone pillars. And the kicker? They were carved by prehistoric hunter-gatherers. The sheer monumental scale of this place completely upended our theories. We used to think complex construction only happened after society settled down to farm, but Göbekli Tepe proves hunter-gatherers were pulling off massive communal projects way before agriculture took hold.
Then there's the city of Troy. With Troy, we have to strictly distinguish the legendary literary events of Homer's epic from the actual dirt and pottery on the ground. Excavations proved that a thriving Bronze Age settlement with real defensive walls actually existed. It just goes to show us that sometimes we really have to rely on the soil, not the myth, to find the truth. And then, wow, we have the Antikythera Mechanism, which was pulled from a Mediterranean shipwreck. Now, while it's super tempting to just call this thing a modern computer, it's much more accurate and maybe even more impressive to see it as a staggering ancient Greek achievement in bronze gear mechanics. This intricate system was used for really complex astronomical calculations, like predicting eclipses.
It proves the ancient world was far more mechanically advanced than we ever assumed. Let's jump over to the dramatic peaks of the Andes. The mountain settlement of Machu Picchu reveals just breathtaking Inca engineering, complete with agricultural terraces, stone walls, and these intricate pathways. Documenting these structures taught researchers an immense amount about how the Inca adapted to extreme mountain environments. And crucially, it proves this site was never truly lost to local people. It was just hidden from modern outside records until its archaeological rediscovery. Our final assumption breaker takes us to the misty Scandinavian landscapes. When archaeologists excavated remarkably preserved timber Viking ships, held together with real iron nails, it totally transformed our understanding of ancient travel, trade, and naval warfare. You can forget the fantasy tropes and those inaccurate horned helmets for a second. These wooden vessels show us the historically plausible and highly sophisticated reality of Scandinavian maritime dominance and shipbuilding. And that leads us to our final section. Section 5, How Physical Evidence Changes History.
So how do we actually get from a dirt-covered rock or a corroded piece of bronze to a completely rewritten history book? Well, it's a really rigorous scientific process. It all starts with careful archaeological excavation and detailed artifact mapping. Then comes the laboratory analysis, the conservation, and dating techniques. And all of that finally allows for clean, incredibly accurate digital and historical reconstructions. The modern technology used here doesn't overshadow the past at all. It merely gives us the tools to accurately reconstruct it and separate fact from fiction.
When we apply that science, a stunning chronological map emerges. Looking across this massive sweep of time, we can see a really clear progression. The physical evidence maps exactly how human development rapidly transitioned from small mud brick communities all the way to the incredibly complex, highly organized urban societies of the Maya, Inca, and Viking eras.
But you know what? Here is the most exciting part of all this. As our map of unexplored locations slowly fills in, whether that's untouched deserts, dense forests, deep caves, or underwater ruins, it becomes incredibly obvious that archaeology is a science that is still very much in progress. There are literally countless stories still out there, hiding beneath vegetation and soil, just waiting to be discovered. I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought. History isn't lost. Sometimes it's simply buried. Every single time an archaeologist's brush clears away the dust, we don't just find an old object. We realize the mystery of the human story is really only just beginning. So keep your curiosity alive, because honestly, who knows what we're going to unearth next?